Bobby McGowan?
Yes,
Hi, Bobby. You're my mom from Delaware, is that correct?
that's correct.
All righty. Can you tell me a little bit about you and where you live and your son?
Sure. First of all, I won't be offended if anybody goes Delaware. We are a small state, and we're used to it. I am a high school teacher of English, and my son was Corporal Stephen McGowan. My son was a 6'1", 200-plus-pound Irish rugby player when he entered the Army. He entered because of 9/11. I will never forget coming home. First time I saw the pictures, I was sitting next to Stephen. And not long after that, he wanted to go and serve his country. He always had a deep, deep, profound love for America and being American. And wherever he traveled, before going in the Army, he always carried a little American flag, and it was the very first thing he put up at his bunk or campsite or whatever.
9/11 was the impetus for him to become a soldier.
Yes, it was. His country had been attacked. He wanted to protect his country.
What do you think the word patriot meant to him?
Well, I know for Stephen, he, as I said, had a deep, profound love for this country. So I think for him it was, when the time comes, you stand up for your country, as I've heard all these other mothers say today as well. It wasn't going to be somebody else's job, it was going to be his.
Do you have a story you can tell me about Stephen that makes you smile?
Well, if you'll allow me, I can tell you one that kind of rolls into one that kind of rolls into one.
Sure.
He was, as I said, an Irish rugby player, and he came in, he was in college, it was Halloween, he didn't have a costume, so he runs into the garage, gets a cardboard box, and makes straps on it and turned himself into a kissing booth and charged $1 per kiss. And he made money. But also because he was so strong when he entered the Army, in basic he was already in very good condition. So when he would finish the 5-mile run or the 10-mile run, he would go to the end of the line and run with the last soldier until that soldier made it to the finish line. And then as he served in Korea, they were the first troops being pulled out of Korea to go to Iraq. And Stephen was a medic, and at that point they weren't taking all the medics. So he called me and he said, I have volunteered to go to Iraq. I believe I should go before men who are married and have children. And that's how he was then selected to be the medic for the scouts. And that's how he entered. And then once being in Iraq, he and his best friend Jason Hagen started prayer groups, and they prayed before every mission and before every meal. And I think they became kind of those rocks of spiritual faith and strength as well.
Well, that's a wonderful story. Thank you. What words of advice would you give to other parents who have soldiers in the field?
Well, interestingly enough, my very longtime friend has 2 sons who have just entered the Marines. And as a mother, of course, she's distraught. The first thing I always tell everyone is, it's not necessarily going to be true that you will lose your son because I lost mine. So don't fear that all the time, but know that we all have a destiny, and our sons have chosen a path, and we as their parents must trust in the men that we have raised and trust in their judgment and love them, support them, pray for them, and honor that choice that they have made.
And if you could say one thing to your son right now, what would it be?
You know, I'm so grateful I got this opportunity to actually say to Stephen. He called me from Iraq at one point, and I said, Stephen, you're my hero. And he said, Mom, I don't like that word. I'm just an ordinary guy in extraordinary circumstances. And I said, said, well, you're not doing it in an ordinary way, and I'm humbled by the man that you have become. So what I'd say now is, Stephen wrote to my students and said, be heroic in your own lives, do great things with the gifts you have been given, and be good to each other. So Stephen's sister Michaela and I choose to be reflections of his light as best we can in this world, to be as heroic and courageous and as kind as he was. And for myself personally, I would tell him, I thank God every day that I got to be your mother.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you for sharing.